Female CEO took just one bite of the mooncake her assistant bought and realized that the taste was exactly the same as the ones her sister used to make. Immediately, she realized that the mooncake vendor might be her long-lost sister. So, she asked her assistant to take her to find the vendor right away. But when they arrived, the vendor had already packed up and gone home. It turned out that 20 years ago, the woman and her sister had a happy family. However, on what was supposed to be a day of family reunion during the Mid-Autumn Festival, their father was nowhere to be found, until a sudden, urgent knock on the door. When their mother opened the door, she was shocked to discover that her husband had become a cold, lifeless body. The village chief said the man had died in a construction accident. Their mother held her husband's body and cried her heart out. Later, overwhelmed with grief, she too passed away, leaving the 3 children to fend for themselves. Fortunately, with the help of the village chief, the children were able to bury their parents. However, the older sister couldn't afford to take care of her younger siblings. With no other choice, she sent her brother and sister away for adoption. At the moment of separation, the sister broke down in tears. She promised her siblings that she would one day find them both. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. The once older sister had become a billionaire CEO. Now, the first thing she did after returning to the country was to search for her brother and sister. Little did she know, her brother and sister's lives weren't going well. Her sister was barely getting by, selling handmade mooncakes. Her brother was working as a laborer for the boss's son. One day, the woman unexpectedly learned that her brother and sister were in Jiangcheng. Excited, she immediately instructed her assistant to drive and search for them. But Jiangcheng was a big city, so the assistant could only search while asking around for information. Soon, the assistant accidentally came across the sister's mooncake stand. He tried one of the mooncakes and thought it was pretty good, so he packed some up and brought them back to the woman. But as soon as she tasted it, the woman realized that the mooncake vendor was most likely her sister. She immediately asked her assistant to take her to meet the vendor. However, when the woman arrived, the vendor was no longer there. After asking an elderly woman nearby, the woman learned that her sister had left for some reason. The woman then pulled out an old family photo from her childhood. She asked if the mooncake vendor was the little girl in the photo. However, the photo had deteriorated and was no longer recognizable. After asking around, the woman discovered that her sister's boyfriend had been in an accident at the factory, and to take care of him, she was working 3 jobs. Upon hearing this, the woman felt a deep sadness. She immediately instructed her assistant to investigate everything about her sister. Little did she know her sister's boyfriend's surgery could no longer be delayed. So she went to the factory to demand compensation from the boss's son. However, the boss bluntly said that he hadn't even asked her boyfriend for lost wages, and now her sister had the nerve to ask for compensation. The boss then told her brother to convince her to go back. But the sister was determined, because she knew her boyfriend's accident wasn't due to a mistake on his part, but because the factory equipment was old and poorly maintained, and the insurance company had already transferred the compensation to the boss's account. Now the boss was trying to pocket the compensation for himself. With that, the sister pulled out proof that the insurance money had been paid, but the boss grabbed the evidence and tore it into pieces.